There, it's when you can see this thing and you see the red, that's when we're live.
All right. Well,
so we're live.
The bit rates are going.
Yeah, exactly. It's happening. Are we ready?
Space Nine.
Doug Space Nine. Doug Space Nine. Doug Space Nine. Doug Space Nine. This is Doug Space Nine. Doug Space Nine. Oh, we should just stop. It's not gonna get better.
This is the best.
That was it. That was the best part of the show.
That's our faith of the heart.
That is our faith of the heart. Oh, fuck that song. That song is terrible.
No, that song is great.
No, that song is so bad.
It's wonderful.
No.
You just need to listen to it a lot.
Dude, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I hosted the opening ceremonies for the Star Trek exhibit at the EMP, and I actually hosted a sing-along of that song at one point on stage. It was like towards the end of the night, and there weren't that many people left, and I just got up on stage. I'm like, all right, this is a little weird, but this is what I want to do, so can we, like, sing this song together? And I stood there and sang the whole song a cappella by myself. And, like, some people sang along with me, and towards the end, this, like, drunk crowd was just like, it's been a long road! It was so great, but mostly just, like, crickets from the rest of the crowd. It was, I mean, there wasn't much of a crowd then anyway.
Please tell me that's on video somewhere.
I don't know. I don't have a video of it, but
someone does. I know if you have a video of this, please contact the show.
I'll ask Kevin, because he works there, and he's the video person. Anyway, hello, everybody! Hello! Amanda, Emerald, Adam, John, what is up, my friends?
Romper Stomper.
Oh, you haven't met Adam yet. Yeah, this is Doug. The Doug of Doug Space Nine.
I am the Doug of Doug Space Nine.
Oh man, Super Hamster loves the Enterprise theme. I guess I'm in the minority here. I think that song is garbage.
I can't wait till we get to do that. Episode by episode.
I love that show. I mean, the show is awesome, and I would love to talk about that show.
Do you skip the theme when you listen to it?
Yeah, I skip the theme.
That's the problem. You can't skip the theme. That's how you learn to love the theme, is you watch the theme.
I have watched... Well, the thing is, I watched it before I could skip the theme. Like, I watched that show when it was on TV on... what channel was it? UPN?
UPN?
Yeah, on UPN. And I had to sit through that theme for every episode. Right. So, like, when I watch on DVD, I'm like, I've done my time. DVD, what am I saying? On Netflix. I've done my time. I'm not listening to it again.
Yeah, but you get a binge listen to it, and then you'll get an appreciation for it. I still remember the feeling of my heart sinking when I saw the pilot of that episode and heard the theme song. I was like, what the fuck? It's totally. NASCAR in space. Why are they doing NASCAR in space? Yet I have come around, much like you will on Discovery, and come to embrace Enterprise and everything about it, including the theme song.
Welcome, Bala. Welcome, Waynesy. What's up, you guys? Yeah, I had that same feeling of disappointment when I first watched that show. I was like, oh my god, this theme song is terrible. But unlike you, that never went away. Although I really love that show. All right, you guys, we're talking about Deep Space Nine,
Number 2,
Season 1. Yeah, so we have to decide how we're going to number episodes, because this got really confusing for me this week. Because...
this is Doug Space Nine, Episode 002, about Star Trek Deep Space Nine, S01E02, S01E03.
So, okay, here's my problem.
Will that fit in the YouTube title?
So,
hashtag.
Originally, past Prologue aired before A Man Alone.
What? Okay.
Even though they were filmed in reverse order.
Okay.
But for some reason, Netflix has them on in the order they were produced and not the order they were aired.
Okay.
So, but the other problem is that the official production numbering of Emissary is 1 and 2, but Netflix just has it as 1.
Right.
So, like, an official production numbering... Past Prologue is episode 3, and A Man Alone is episode 4. But on Netflix, A Man Alone is episode 2 because they switched them, and Past Prologue is episode 3.
Right.
So I don't know, like...
I already told you.
Should we just do Netflix numbering?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
okay, great.
This is the problem when you have time hole worm aliens fucking things up.
Yeah, totally. This is the fault of the wormhole aliens, the fact that the numbering is garbage. Yeah, let's just use Netflix numbering, because I feel like that's how people are watching it.
Absolutely.
But I actually checked on Amazon Prime, because they have Deep Space Nine also, and they have the correct order, so it's also different from Netflix. But it's still episodes 2 and 3.
Let's see what CBS All Access has it as, because
yeah,
they would be the final arbiters of numbering canon.
I was going to check that, but I let my subscription lapse.
You better renew it, because Discovery's coming back, baby!
The worst part is that I'm going to. I'm sure I'm going to. I have to watch it.
You do.
Yeah.
And love it. Best first 13 episodes of any Star Trek series so far.
Ugh. Even though these episodes of Deep Space Nine are, like, aggressively mediocre, they were still better than Discovery.
We'll see. We're only at 3. We've got 10 more.
Yeah. Okay, so should we talk about these in the order that they are on Netflix? That means A Man Alone first, right?
Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah.
Let's do it. Well, let's talk about A Man Alone. So this is the episode where a Bajoran man tries to frame Odo for his own murder by cloning himself and killing his clone.
But Discovery's too weird for me.
Oh my god. The premise of this episode is like a machination of Master Shake from the Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It's like, obey me! No! Obey my clone! It's like God. I don't know.
Can we just jump right into that?
Let's, please.
I spent the whole episode going, what the fuck happens to the clone that they made just to solve the mystery?
Me too.
They throw him away with one line like, 2 hours after gaining consciousness
and starting his new life in
good luck, asshole.
They just made this dude out of particles that they found in somebody's quarters. He wasn't supposed to be made. He was a science experiment that turned into a creature. And that is the story of this episode, and they just throw it away. They ignore it completely. Like, what the fuck? That drove me crazy.
Right.
It drove me absolutely insane.
What is his life like? Because when he figures it out, it'll be like, oh, I guess I call them clone brothers? One who probably only got to live for, I'd say, a couple hours, got a massage, and then stabbed in the back. Like, that was, he just woke up and then some dude who looked just like him said, hey, you're a clone and guess what? We're millionaires and you can have any life you want. Here, have a massage. Okay.
Yeah, it literally makes no sense because the problem is that, first of all, Ibudan is his name. Right. And Ibudan is a great name. Yes. And it's such a good name. I want to be named Ibudan.
He sounds like the kind of guy who would murder his own clone.
Yeah.
Ibudan. Clone murder.
Totally. And that's actually the show that I want to see. I want to see what happens with Ibudan's clone.
We need a spin-off.
I want like a web comic of Ibudan's clone.
Absolutely. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's really... Okay, anyway, so the original Ibudan clone that was killed, that clone seemed to have memories of Odo. So what's that about? Like, when Odo confronts him at Quark's at the Dabo table, he seems to know who he is and hate Odo already and like have a problem with him. I went back and rewatched that scene and there is recognition there.
So I think that's the Ibudan Prime. And then...
Oh, you solved it.
Ibudan only...
Before he put on the old man mask.
Right. Right. In a world where you can get, like, casual prosthetic surgery
that look
like
real.
anyone.
When Odo can't even make his face look real, but you can buy a mask that looks real. What? It's like, it is actually a Scooby-Doo ending. Odo, like, grabs this man in a headlock and rips his mask off.
I would have gone away for it.
It's Ibudan! Who knew his face is a different shape? His face is thinner. How did that mask work? It should have been a hologram. Why couldn't it have been like a holographic unit?
Surgery.
Anything else. Yeah. Surgery. Anything that's been, like, established in Star Trek canon before. But no, it's just a fucking mask.
Rubber mask.
It looked... Okay, I'm sorry. I interrupted. It was ridiculous.
It's very funny because it's also like humans have had that technology since Mission Impossible.
I know, that's
the Bajorans are like 400 years behind in disguise tech,
and that drove me crazy in a Mission Impossible. Like Ethan Hunt was able to do this in the past, so I don't know why it bothers me. But dude, this episode actually confirms that Star Wars takes place in the Star Trek universe.
Okay, I have to hear this.
It's real, you guys. I wore a Star Wars shirt. This is all stormtroopers.
No, I wore Star
Trek. Yeah, I wore wearing Star Trek socks, and they're awesome. Look at that; they're beautiful.
Did it make it up there?
It did. It did make it up there. Good job.
Look at how. By the way, look at that flexibility, dude.
We forgot to mention that we're broadcasting from the past. on the bridge of the Enterprise.
Yes.
Because in the show that you were watching right now, it takes place in the current timeline of Deep Space Nine. Doug's trying to open the door.
I can't. Boop.
Can you get it?
No.
It made the noise. That was actually a really good impersonation
That was
of
a
that
good
noise. I'm surprised with myself.
Congratulations. Now let's hear your bullshit Star Wars theory.
Okay, when Odo goes through Ibudan's things, and and it shows where he's been, it says Alderaan Spaceport. It actually says that. Like, I read that on Memory Alpha, and I went back to confirm it, and you can see it. It says that. Okay, they're in the same galaxy. So he went
galaxy.
Either that, or he was maybe like hopping through different galaxies. Right. But if that's the case, then it's still the same, you know, continuity.
Right. Or he's just a liar.
Yeah, that's proof.
Didn't he also put Odo in there as someone who we had a meeting with?
He did.
Which was not true.
The last thing on his list was just in all caps.
Odo.
Odo. Like, what is that?
Parentheses, hope he doesn't murder me.
Yeah. Did he put it on his schedule to remind himself to frame Odo for murder? Is that what that is? So he ran into Ibudan Prime at the Dabo table.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And then he made a clone. And so maybe the clone's only action in its whole life was getting stabbed while getting a massage. Maybe that's the only thing the clone ever did. Right, maybe it had like no personality.
He was alive for half an hour.
Yeah, do you think he had a personality?
Yeah, he had Ibudan's personality by the logic they've had. So that's the other thing is that Ibudan, who's apparently some kind of shitty dude, his clone has got to go like, oh, am I that shitty dude? Yeah, it's very weird.
So does he be
his own person?
Does he
or is
have
he going to turn out to be the same Ibudan? I don't know. I mean, maybe the clone didn't know anything except this massage and then death.
Yeah, totally. That's what I think it's implied.
That's a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah, because it seems like the new clone has like none of Ibudan's memories, maybe, like from what Dr. Bashir said, like, or what Odo said. Let's hope he's nothing like the original.
Oh, right.
When they were talking about him, I got the impression that he didn't have any memories or personality or anything.
Oh, good call.
It was just like a lump of flesh made sentient,
which is also
through a science experiment. Yeah, and it literally happens. So, like, he's a lump of flesh when the riots start, and Bashir like looks out at the riots and then looks back at this lump of flesh, and then you go to a commercial, and then like after the riots, or like during the riots, I think is when they realize what's happening, because the riots end because Bashir comes out and says the man who's murdered was not Ibudan. So that happens over the course of like,
which is also
maybe 20 minutes.
The best way to handle investigation is to run out in front of a mob and yell the evidence that you just discovered.
Yeah, totally.
I hope nobody comes in here and destroys it.
Yeah. So that was only like 20 minutes, but when you saw the prop of the clone, it was like a giant mound of flesh.
Sorry.
Yeah, shifter. I know we have to talk about that. But then when they came back to it like 20 minutes later, it was man-shaped, and it didn't make any sense. Okay, we have to catch up with Chad here.
Yeah.
The premise is ridiculous, but the social issue undercurrent is effing fantastic. I do agree with that. Like, there is a lot of good stuff in this episode. And I actually I'm making fun of it, but I really enjoyed this episode
me too.
a lot. I watched it twice, and I enjoyed it more the second time. Once I knew how ridiculous it got by the end, I kind of enjoyed it more. Because it's like, I don't know, they're trying so hard to create this, like, film noir mystery thing. And they kind of do,
murder mystery.
But it kind of doesn't, like, fit the tone of Star Trek, and it's like a weird first stab at doing this, because they do this a lot over the course of the series. But there's an episode that stands out to me about Odo's past that is like another murder mystery about Odo that is maybe one of the best episodes of the show. So they get this right eventually, but this is kind of presenting this idea that Odo is kind of this this film noir character inside of Star Trek.
He's the sheriff.
Yeah.
Everything about his life is mystery and murder.
Yeah.
Femme fatales that want to kill him or fuck him.
Yeah, and they call him Constable.
Yeah, Constable.
Yeah, so there's a lot that I like about it. And the social issues are really interesting.
Right, like him being an outsider, and that the Bajorans just despising, or a lot of people despising shapeshifters for their very existence. Which is weird, because it's basically, he's the only one they know, and they're like, right away, hell no.
Yeah, and it seems like the Bajorans are kind of hurt. Well, obviously they're very hurt and like, in pain from the Cardassian occupation.
Right.
And part of some of their way of dealing with it is to aggressively, become xenophobic and to try to push away all other species. And both of these episodes are about that. Yeah. I mean, Tana Los in past Prologue like the terrorist character is trying to get rid of the Federation. They're just trying to just be alone and just heal by themselves. While other, people like Major Kira realize that that is just not what's best for Bajor, because they just discovered this wormhole, and they're opening up to the galaxy. Maybe there'll be a power in the galaxy, and they can really stand on their own 2 feet for the first time.
Right.
And become a center for trade and tourism and whatever. And I mean, that might be what Bajor needs to heal to kickstart the economy. That makes a lot of sense.
Maybe they need some alone time. Maybe they just need a quiet corner of the galaxy to think about what happened and not be bothered by a bunch of other people, especially the people that just subjugated them.
Yeah, and honestly, that's also a really good argument. And I was thinking about that.
It's a good argument.
I was watching these,
but the show presents it with a flawed messenger, because it kind of Deep Space Nine does get a little bit more gray as time goes on, but now they're still establishing, I think, a pretty clear. I mean, both antagonists are Bajoran, but they're both shown to be like, well, they got really shitty attitudes when it comes to murdering your own clone or thousands of your own people. They're super cash about that. So you're okay rejecting them, but I do feel like that at least the Tanalos's, whatever, his argument has legs,
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously killing your own clone is ridiculous, and his argument does not have legs, because his argument is that Odo should die for sending me to jail.
He's just a straight-up black hat villain. He's
even when he's a Scooby-Doo villain.
Yeah. His disguise was to be even more nefarious looking, like, I'm an old space wizard up to nothing.
His disguise was to stand there and, mysteriously go like this all the time.
Yeah.
And then just stare,
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, there is an argument to be made that maybe it is right for Bajor to be alone right now, but that doesn't excuse, xenophobic behavior that borders on. I mean, I guess you could call it racism, because they are different races. Right. So yeah, being racist against a shapeshifter is like being racist against any species just because of who they are born as is always wrong.
Right.
That in my opinion is always wrong. Prejudging a person based off of what they look like is always wrong.
Right.
So
and of course Star Trek doesn't but maybe sometimes it is right. No, it's always a very clear thing.
Yeah, and Star Trek is very clear in this episode. The people judging Odo because he's a shapeshifter are wrong.
Yeah.
We're super happy today. Hey, man, we're talking about Deep Space Nine live on the internet. What?
And someone had an edible.
Yeah. There's that also.
But I also like what Amanda said. The beginning of Deep Space Nine had to focus on their railing against the integration with other species, or it wouldn't have made sense. And I think that I agree with that.
Yeah, totally. And I really like that they did that. I really like that a lot, because
and because one of the more interesting things that Deep Space Nine does is exploring Bajoran politics, religion, and culture in a way that usually is very one at most two-dimensional. Like the Klingons, it's kind of like it's honor and stuff,
Right.
But this actually, they do a deep dive into it, which is of course just another way of exploring our own cultures.
Yeah, totally. And I think that Kira is like a really good voice for an honorable, reasonable Bajoran who is also angry and hurt by the occupation. Like, she really rides that line perfectly of, being a character who is carrying current trauma, but being willing to listen to other people and take in other ideas and grow. And I looking at her arc over the course of the show, I'm really liking her a lot more in the beginning. I never really liked her in the first couple seasons, but now I really do, because I see that the character that I love later is there. It's just that she's traumatized.
Right.
And the way that that's portrayed, I think, is really effective, where she's really standoffish, she's really pushing people away, she just rails against Sisko all the time. But then whenever he does the right thing, in her opinion, she realizes, oh, it might be okay to trust this person.
Yes.
And it's a slow journey towards trust and being a bridge between the Federation and Bajor. I mean, she really is that bridge, because no one would listen to Sisko. The Bajorans would not listen to Sisko without that bridge being there.
Yes. It's interesting because she uses that I'm just the in-between to sometimes justify herself when people question whether she has loyalty to Bajor, I think it's interesting. I think it gets a little lazy with the writing for Kira, where, like this one, she can be manipulated if the person just questions, are you really loyal to Bajor? And also she always has the you think you've seen some shit, I've seen some shit. That's whenever she's interacting with somebody from the past.
Yeah Yeah, there's so much like character history and depth before the show starts. Like a lot of that stuff was really well planned out. But in both of these episodes, I felt like they did not expand on the premise of the pilot in either of them, which is a little frustrating.
There's no more. We don't get any more orb time.
Nor orb time. Ooh. Yeah, no prophets, no wormhole aliens. Yeah. Barely any wormhole at all, besides Tanalos trying to blow it up in the second episode. Yeah. But yeah, for me, I felt like these were both strange choices for episodes to follow the first episode, no matter which order you put them in.
Sure, right. It doesn't matter. It's no better than it ought to be kind of episodic Star Trek, you know?
Yeah, totally. Okay, but there's so much that happens in A Man Alone, because there's like 4 plots of this episode.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. There's the whole subplot of Julian Bashir being super in love with Jadzia.
Right.
But that was this episode, right?
Yeah, that's when she's doing her weird ball puzzle.
Yeah. She's doing her mind puzzle, and then Bashir tries to do it, and he's just like this eager puppy, like, I don't know. That whole storyline is a little strange.
This is what I wrote down where I thought A Man Alone makes sense as a second episode, because right away they give you context, or not context, but like a summary of each of the characters. Jadzia is a nerd with daredevil powers where she can sense people coming in. Julian's a creep. O'Brien is a liar. And Odo is like an angry virgin. You know? And right away it's the first intro and then the first scene at Quark's, and you're like, oh, okay, here's the characters, you know?
That's a really good point. All of those character scenes were a little bit strange to me. Yeah. Like getting to know, I feel like the characters weren't quite nailed down yet, especially Odo, because Odo's discussion with Quark at the bar where he's like, you want to compromise, you want to listen to blah, 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 I want to listen to Klingon, blah, blah. She wanted Klingon opera, and he wanted, I don't know what. Right. But then we compromise, we listen to Klingon opera.
I wrote down, Odo has some weirdly specific complaints about relationships and compromise.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like, Odo's definitely been married like 9 times.
Yeah. He admits to being a virgin in the same episode.
Is that the one where he goes, coupling?
Yeah.
I've never understood why solids like to couple.
Like he's never slept with anyone, he says. Like he's never had an intimate relationship, he says. Or I mean, that's how I take it. Well, he's never coupled before.
He also says no weapons on the promenade, and I'm pretty sure that's not a hard and fast rule either.
Yeah, that's something to pay attention to. He's very Batman about that.
Odo's a liar. This is what I'm understanding.
But yeah, his complaining about relationships struck me as very strange.
Yeah.
Quark and Julian are both just like drooling over Jadzia, and it's super creepy.
It's like you think Julian, you're like, oh, he's a creep, and then they're like, no, Quark is the one who we think is the creep. We, at this time as writers, think Julian is just like awkward and charming. They're both creeps.
Yeah, they're both creeps.
Yeah. But they ease off of Julian later on, and then Quark, they just keep making him worse.
Yeah, which is fine for his character. You know, like
he's a bad guy, so...
Yeah, and they kind of address that through his relationship with Rom and his mom later on in the show.
Is it this one or the next one where it's Mr. Rom, and he is hoity and...
he's a totally different character.
It's so funny. It's like, I call it pre-head injury Rom. Because something happens off camera where Rom takes a 180-degree turn.
That's so true. Yeah, it's like I don't know what happened. It's like they just went with a completely different character, but the same actor. It's bizarre.
More Amanda.
Amanda says, Odo has a lot of integrity. I think this episode showed, and better set up for his discussion with Kira in the next episode about what the right thing to do is. Yeah, totally. I love Odo's insistence that his justice is the only correct justice. That, like, rules change. You know, he says that in A Man Alone, you know. Like, rules change, but justice is justice, or whatever it is that he says about the change in regime that's happening around him, where he was, you know, Gul Dukat's security chief, and now he's Benjamin Sisko's security chief.
They're showing Odo has, like, his own set of laws, regardless of what other people around him say, which is good, but also you see some of the dark side of it, because he's always like, let's just lock people up.
Yeah, that's his first response always. And Sisko's like, we can't just lock people up without doing something wrong.
Very Western sheriff, you know what I mean? Like, hey, what's going on here? I don't know, let's lock him up and figure it out.
Yeah, but is he wrong about locking up Ibudan? Ibudan, like, let children die for not allowing them to have the medication they need at a price they could afford? I mean, he's a horrible person.
Well, if he had locked Ibudan up, they would have at least saved the creation of one clone.
And that would have been a much more interesting episode, because all of a sudden there's this other Ibudan walking around while there's an Ibudan in jail. What's going on now?
Okay.
That's much better.
As Ibudan's lawyer, I would like to say that, yes, I 100% acknowledge that my client Ibadan murdered his clone. However, through his actions, we also created an Ibadan clone who's still alive, so can we call it a wash?
Yes, totally.
It's like a...
Can you be... Yeah, that is a really interesting thing. Like, if you create a science project that then becomes conscious and you kill it, is that murder?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, too. And the show thinks so, obviously.
Roses are red.
I mean,
Hans is an Earth herder.
Killing your own clone is still murder. Oh my god. This is a good question. Does Odo's simulated humanoid genitals work like real ones, though?
Yes, up and including making someone pregnant. He, in theory, could simulate a tiny little sperm because it's a biological thing, and that's what he can do. That's like the ultimate level of shapeshifting. And then you can create a hybrid shapeshifter humanoid clone. I mean, child. I don't call my children clones. Why are you asking?
I completely disagree.
You have a lot of bad opinions about Star Trek.
I know.
But if you also just mean straight up fucking, then yeah.
I think that Odo would be capable of creating shapeshifted sperm that could theoretically travel.
They say he has DNA in one of these episodes.
But then you have a piece of Odo inside of you, and that's very romantic. And maybe that is just a thing that they do. Like, you know, Andy and I wear friendship bracelets. Maybe it's like that.
He's just walking around with a chunk of shapeshifter inside of you.
Just, yeah, a little bit of shapeshifter that was transferred during lovemaking. It's really sweet, I think.
Seems dangerous because the goo looks like it can move. And,
Yeah.
and like they can bring it towards them when it's separated. They haven't shown how far that works. Like, could he get the goo to go across the space station and crawl towards them, or is it just like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth? He's got like a 10-15 foot radius.
And then does he have to retract it into himself when he regenerates every 18 hours? Hey, Ghostboo, thanks for saying hi, man.
Hello.
This episode also introduces the fact that Odo has to regenerate.
Yes, and he lives in a bucket.
He lives in a bucket. He lives in a pail in the back of his office.
God, he couldn't pick a worse pail. Yeah. I was in my pail.
And I don't think he has quarters, right? We learned that later that he doesn't have quarters at this point.
His office, yeah, which just seems shockingly easy to get into.
Yeah, if you want to just spray paint the walls. Also, someone mentioned before, shifter.
Right. I feel like the show took a stab at like, let's invent a new slur.
And it's so
they
wrong.
never use it again.
And it's like calling a human being a being, like calling a shapeshifter a shifter. It's like. It's just like yelling his species name at him. It makes no sense. But like, they're just yelling shift. It sounds like they're chanting for him, like in shifter. Like that's what it sounds like.
It's like your buddy who's like really good at cars. You know, his hands are always greasy.
Yeah.
Hey, shifter's here. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's still fine though. Like I like that they are attempting to make something. The Bajoran spray painted shifter in English on the wall. You're so right.
I mean, that's very kind of them. You know, during the occupation, they would spray paint stuff in Cardassian.
Does the universal translator affect the written
visual
word?
Stuff. No, just the writers are. It's lazy, you know.
Hey, spare parts. What's up? Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but that's okay.
That's okay. It's Star Trek.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not supposed to make sense.
Deep Space Nine doesn't need to make sense for me. Like Deep Space Nine tries harder, I think, than any Star Trek to make sense.
Yes,
but they stretch credulity to beyond the breaking point. Yes. With the amount of technobabble and weird ways that they get from point A to point B. You know, like Doctor Who is just like space magic, and then they move on, and it's awesome. Right. But Star Trek is always
Mycelial Network. It's space magic. Just move on. It's awesome.
Like up until Deep Space Nine, I feel like Star Trek was at least trying to be scientific.
Yes,
and I think Deep Space Nine is trying to be scientific.
Yeah, it's pseudo-scientific.
Yeah, more pseudoscience. Like they just kind of. They start just saying like this is what I want to have happen, and these are the weird random words that get me from here to there.
Right.
And it gets a little out of hand. Yeah. But I'm okay with that. I enjoy that. Like that's the type of TV that I like because I'm a nerd, you know, so I enjoy it. Yeah, Space Wizard did it exactly. So yeah, there's a couple of plots in this. There's also the plot of Benjamin Sisko and Jadzia kind of reconnecting their friendship.
Yeah,
which also intersects with like Julian crushing on Jadzia. Yeah,
to me that's more. It's just that's the drama stuff. That's the you know that's what in That's the closest this Deep Space Nine comes to being serialized, in the sense that there is a lot more interpersonal drama that does continue from episode to episode.
Yeah, that's true. I actually hadn't thought about it that way, because I always think of the first season as not being serialized. But I kind of, I mean, the
space
the characterizations are more so.
Well, Deep Space 90210. That part is definitely serialized.
That is another show that I'd rather see. Yeah, I guess I mean, that is the serialization of the Next Generation, is character and the original series.
But it's not that much. It's really, you know, it's far and few between.
It gets more so towards like the latter seasons, especially with like Data. You know.
Yeah, it's as TV itself is evolving to this style of storytelling.
Yeah, and I think that the emotional satisfaction of that was a big part of why I wanted to see more serialized TV on at the time when Deep Space Nine came out.
No, Babylon 5 exists.
And I did not watch that until recently.
It's hard to watch. Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, but I don't know. I wasn't... Because the character stuff in this episode is a little funky to me, like, it didn't quite occur to me that they were actually setting up character serialization.
Right.
Because it feels so like why is Odo complaining about relationships, and like why is Julian just like so Jadzia horny in a way that's really, really uncomfortable and kind of starting to
he makes it okay
creep
for
me out.
Like the young horn dogs in the audience to be okay with their feelings towards Jadzia.
Yeah, I think that maybe it was the writer's feeling towards Jadzia, because it comes through in a couple of characters.
I mean, they retconned the Trills just because Terry Farrell is super hot.
Yeah. I mean, Terry Farrell is I mean, Jadzia Dax is maybe the most crushable, like character in all of Star Trek.
Unless you like Ezri.
And, you know, some might, but for me, it's Jadzia. Yeah, like, I always had a crush on Jadzia, but I feel like the way that the show treats her is a little unfair sometimes. Like, I don't know. When you have that many male characters just like going gaga over her, and I don't know, it starts to feel a little creepy. Yeah. Is that just me?
Deep Space Nine, I think, makes the effort to have more fleshed out female characters, but there's a lot of times where they make just huge missteps or have blind spots, and I think it's the feeling of there's no women in the room for writing, you know what I mean? Where there's not someone who's saying like, you know, maybe this experience to you looks this way, but to me, maybe this isn't like quirky charmingness.
Yeah, but you know what I do appreciate is that they don't treat Kira that way. They really don't. I mean, Kira is a character in the fact that she is like a survivor and part of the resistance, and is, you know, now transitioning.
Spoiler alert: sappy Odo love stuff comes later.
Sure, they do. I mean, they treat her like that eventually, but when they present her,
they have misty sex
with what we've seen.
That's the answer to Amanda.
That is the answer.
Shapeshifters have sex through mist clouds.
It's very similar to the movie Cocoon. That sort of sci-fi sex.
Oh,
you know?
I like this point too. They had to put some women in. That's how they thought they draw in the women. So like female viewers that would want something that has more of a story between the characters. Yeah, which is interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but I'd be curious to know if that was a conscious decision or how it worked.
Yeah, I mean, I also feel like they need to put women in because it would be a horrible show with no women. I mean, can you imagine a Star Trek with no women? It would be so frustrating. It's just like you're trying to be an inclusive show and there's no women. Like, what is this?
You mean the original series?
I mean,
yeomans.
Yeah. Let's not get it. That's a can of worms that we cannot dive into.
That'll be our last one. We circle all the way around.
Yeah, but I will say that there always are more men than women in Star Trek casts, which is a little annoying.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it is. I'm sure enough. Like, who cares? I mean, unfortunately, that's the norm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Discovery is actually doing a little bit better with that. It is doing better with that.
Discovery, well, they've set up the potential for it. They are to a limited degree. But again, it's the first 13 episodes. I think they need to go more into the other bridge characters, or otherwise, if they just kind of stick with the group they have, it won't be that bad, but they'll be missing a huge opportunity.
All of my favorite characters died in season 1. And there's like 4 main characters left. So I am not really invested in any of them anymore. Maybe Michael Burnham.
Yeah, but you know, hey, this modern TV, baby, people die.
Yeah, I mean, but that's fine. Like characters can die in a show like this and not make it, and that's not a bad thing. But it's when the characters that you've developed into something interesting die, and the ones that are left that aren't developed into something interesting to me, that's when I kind of detach a little bit.
Yeah, see, for me, I like all the characters, and I like that there's an emotional investment that can be challenged, you know? The trouble, to me, with a lot of episodic Star Trek, watching it now, is that there's no stakes to anything as a viewer.
Right.
You have to kind of suspend disbelief on the science babble. You also have to suspend disbelief, like, oh, is Odo the murderer, you know? Are these people in danger? Because there aren't consequences at this point in TV shows.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And to me, like, older Star Trek is more like a Frasier type experience, where it's like a warm blanket of a TV show, you know, where you just like, you put it on and it's comfortable and you just can sit in it all day and it just makes you happy. And, you know, like, that's something I really love about Star Trek. And I think a big part of that comes from the relationship of the characters to each other, which, you know, all of the shows take time to develop, and Deep Space Nine is taking some time to develop.
Yeah.
But once it gets there, it's just like hanging out with friends, and I love that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. John says maybe season 2 will be better. I'm definitely going to give it a chance, season 2 of Discovery.
Yeah, it's going to be better, and season 3 is going to be better than that. I mean, that's the arc of Star Trek is that most people will say, the first 2 seasons are a little rocky. That's 24, 48 episodes that people are like, those are rough, and then the next, 3 through 6 or 7 are great.
Yeah.
And people are shitting all over Discovery after 13 episodes. It's half of one season compared to past Star Trek. So calm your pants down.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, the things that I didn't like about Discovery were like,
I like how we always talk about Discovery.
I know. were like things that just were marks of like bad writing to me. And like that kind of drove me a little crazy,
which is never happens in Star Trek,
right? And I guess like even with these episodes of Deep Space Nine, even though they're kind of mediocre episodes, I don't think they're bad writing. I just think that there's like silly moments.
Yeah.
They're still trying to tell a story that is good for people to listen to. They're still trying to tell a story that has a point.
Yes.
Like, being racist is bad. Judging Odo because he's a shapeshifter is bad. Right. And, mob mentality is bad. And trying to attack someone without knowing for sure if they've done something or not is bad, because who knows? Maybe he didn't. Maybe that person wasn't killed. Maybe it was their clone.
Right. This should be an open question at any murder in the Star Trek world.
Was it his clone?
First question, was it a clone?
From now on, every murder that has to be on the table. Was this his clone?
And also, Quark, who's letting people run massage holosuite programs with the safeties off? Why would you do that?
Okay, so the holodeck safeties, or holosuite in this case, if you walk in with a knife, can the holosuite say, like, recognize that it's a knife and dematerialize it?
In theory, but I don't think they ever show something like that. Maybe they show.
I would say no, because I think that it only knows what it has created. I think that if you walk in with a knife from off the holodeck and it's like an actual knife, the holodeck won't realize that. Yeah. So if you stab a hologram, it's not going to matter.
I mean, this is the holotechnology is a whole other can of Star Trek.
I know, that is such a can of worms.
That's what's great about Voyager, though, because Voyager does let's explore photonics.
Yeah, I actually really liked that, and they like found that species of photonic creatures on that really interesting, completely silly episode in black and white.
Yeah.
Klingons still look like orcs in Discovery. Yeah, but I guess they're changing in season 2.
They're space orcs
because they no longer need to hide an actor behind Klingon makeup, so they can like get less makeup on them now. So they're going to change it. That's my theory.
Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that there was a lot of value in A Man Alone. I really do.
Yeah. It also shows that Odo is a man alone because he pushes people away.
Totally.
Multiple characters came up to him to offer him, and he's like, no.
Yeah, I really like his relationship with Sisko in this episode. I really like seeing that Odo has a sense of justice that goes beyond the law.
Right.
And that he doesn't necessarily respect Starfleet law and Federation law at this point.
But he is kind of an authoritarian prick himself, so...
Totally. So it's interesting, like, you know that Odo has memorized every Starfleet regulation before the show even starts. He's just that type of dude. So it's interesting that he still, like, brings up these options to Sisko that are like outside of Federation regulation.
Right.
It also makes you wonder about like what he did under Gul Dukat. You know, what he did under the Cardassians.
Right.
I think that's I mean, obviously we get that story eventually.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that is like a really interesting thing, that the Cardassians were an authoritarian regime.
Right.
They were like a Nazi regime.
He probably corrected the other way. He's probably going to be someone who's going to be not enforcing all of their laws because he sees them as being repugnant. Right.
He probably... I mean, Kira even says that he goes out of his way to show kindness towards the Bajorans. That's why he and Kira are close. That's why Kira trusts him, is because she had experiences with him to know that he was protecting Bajorans before this all started.
Right.
Even under the occupation. And I think that's such an interesting character, to have someone who can be a police officer under both of these different, you know, regimes, like someone who can uphold the law under the Federation or the Cardassians.
Right.
That's really interesting. And I really like that they kind of show him at odds with Sisko a little bit, to kind of bring up that fact that, you know, this is new to him, but he's been in charge here for a long time. But like Sisko's rules are new to him. James says, what Sisko did to bring the Cardassians into the Federation side of the war, good storyline for Sisko. Oh yeah, I love that so much. I can't wait till we get there. That shit was amazing.
Yeah, that's when that's
a fake.
It's the first 2 seasons.
Oh wait.
That's the Star Trek.
That's not the Cardassians. That's the Romulans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's part of it.
Yeah, so good.
I was looking to see what else I wrote down. Oh, that Bajorans apparently love to form a mob. That's like
totally. Did you notice that Morn was in that mob?
Yes.
Morn is just drunk. Like Morn is drinking at Quark's, and then a mob gets up, and he's just like, I don't know what I'm doing or where I'm going.
I wrote down, even Morn scorns Odo. The other subplot, Keiko is a teacher.
Thank you. That's the 4th subplot. Yeah, Keiko is a teacher, which is interesting. So that also, there's like a 5th subplot of Jake and Nog becoming friends.
Right.
Like this is the planting of a seed that goes for the whole show.
This is why this episode had to be shown first, because it crams all of this shit in.
And it's interesting because they decided to air this second. Like or they originally aired this after the other one. I think this is better as right after the pilot. I agree with you for sure. Yeah, this was the production order. But anyway, yeah, so you get the original meeting of Nog and Jake, and you get to see them kind of get up to some mischief.
to use bugs that make people change color and freak out, and apparently get really embarrassed that they freaked out.
It's really itchy and then really embarrassed. But
they're a disgrace to polite Bajoran society.
It's a weird bug that uses a Photoshop tint to change their hue. And then after like, it's so weird.
Totally dialogueless, just like, okay, you two, ham it up.
Yeah,
you're purple, you're yellow. Okay, you're freaking out. Ooh, it's going away. You're calming down. Ooh, now you're worried. You're embarrassed.
But this also leads to my favorite moment in the whole episode, where Sisko is like gonna reprimand Jake, but Jake's like, thought you didn't want to talk about it right now, as he hops around the corner, and it's just like this perfect little moment of perfect acting.
Yeah.
Where Sirach Lofton like really seemed like his kid, you know, and really seemed to be real in that moment. You don't often see that with kids.
Yeah, I've said it on the last one that their portrayal as a father and son is one of the most real and honest portrayals of that kind of relationship that I've seen in science fiction or even other genre fiction.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that a lot of that has to do with the quality of both of the actors. I mean, especially for a child actor, he's really knocking it out of the park. It's really impressive. Super Hamster says, a teacher with no prior qualifications. Yeah, she went from being a botanist to being a teacher.
Right. It's like they're basically saying she's not a good enough botanist to get on, Star Trek missions, but she's a good enough botanist to teach generic history.
Yeah. I was honestly like, I questioned that, but I was okay with it just because I have this weird feeling that in this like future society, like people are just educated well, and becoming an educator when you are well educated is an easier path to take than becoming an educator when you aren't well educated.
Right.
Not to say that becoming an educator is an easy path, because my mom, my sister are teachers, and I know that there's like so much you have to know just to like control a classroom, and that's a very difficult job, and I have so much respect for people who do it.
Right.
But I do buy the fact that Keiko could slip into that role.
Yeah. It's yes.
Yeah.
It's a strange. It's like, I feel again, it's like shoehorning a character into a role to solve like two problems. Like, oh, right, we have a Brian here, but he's married and has a kid, and well, what are we gonna do with Keiko? Oh, well, our Western theme. We need to have a school marm with her, school marm Belle out there in her gingham dress.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's a great solution of what do we do with Keiko, and then I think that. It's also an episode of Keiko saying, "What do I do with myself?" Right. Which kind of sets her up as a character in her own right. She's not just, she's not just Miles's wife. She is a person, and she has needs of her own, and she needs to feel some sense of fulfillment. And being a teacher is like what occurs to her as a thing to maybe do in this outlaw environment that she finds herself in, where she doesn't even want to be there.
I'd be happier with it if they did more with it later on, but we'll talk about those as we slowly watch some of these storylines devolve into the toilet.
Yeah, but taking this episode at face value, I think that was really cool, and you get to meet Molly O'Brien. I interviewed the actress who played her for my podcast, which is my one Star Trek. No, I actually interviewed the guy who played Icheb on Voyager. Also, I interviewed the guy who played young Spock in Star Trek: The Search for Spock. Those are my only three,
and that's all I need.
Like Star Trek actor interviews that I did on that podcast, but it was very cool.
Amanda brings up the homeschooling, that it's probably easy to do in the Star Trek universe, which I think you're saying as far as like being a teacher, there's enough other things there. Somebody who is a well-educated person who cares about the education of kids can do a good job of,
And maybe like with a couple years under her belt, she could become a good teacher.
Right. And she's just teaching young kids Bajoran stuff too, so.
Yeah, and I think that her point of just having a place for kids to go and having a community of children, like some place for her child to grow up in, I think all of that is so cool for her to think about and then say, I'm just going to make this happen.
Right.
And then she does it. I think it's great. I really like that plot. I mean, there's some, I don't know. I mean, there's something like heartwarming about that I really enjoy.
Yeah. Fair.
James says, I like the way Odo helps heal his people, and also says, where Keiko was a kid again on TNG. I love that episode. It's called Rascals. That's season 7?
Yeah, I don't remember. It's been a while since I watched TNG.
I feel like it's season 7.
But then later on, we get Molly as an adult, so Keiko and Molly can have weird conversations.
Post-apocalyptic Molly.
remember when I became an adult? Wasn't that weird? I once became a kid.
Yeah.
And that's not the weirdest thing that happened to me. I got possessed by an evil space devil.
And they just never talk about these things at family dinner.
Your mom.
Yeah. I was a pa wraith. Yeah, I mean, I really like the relationship between Nog and Jake, and I actually, you know what I love is they plant this for the first time also, that Jake does not approve, Ben does not approve of Jake's friendship with Nog.
Right, yeah.
Which
this
is really
episode sets up, I just realized, Garrick and Julian. Is that this one? That's this one, yeah.
No, that's the Tanalos episode, isn't it?
That's this one. Because Tanalos is when he's already has established that Garrick is basically a spy, because then Garrick...
I swear Garrick's not in this episode at all.
He is. They're both in this one. In the first one. I
think that's past Prologue. Because the Klingon women are there to talk to Garrick about Tanalos.
Right.
Garrick's definitely in that episode, but he's not in both. He's only in one of them.
No, he's in both of them.
Should we look it up?
You bet some Latinum on this?
I would bet some Latinum on this. I would bet you 10 bars, 5 slips.
10 bars, 5 slips.
Of gold press Latinum that there was no Garrick in A Man Alone.
Okay.
Does anyone else want to bet on this? Oh, yeah, James, that's another of my absolute favorites. What is that called? Far Beyond the Stars? Is that Far Beyond the Stars?
Oh, I have an idea. Can we pause, and then we'll look this up, and we'll come back with the answer after the break.
Well, we're going to take a quick break while we look up this answer.
Also, I'm going to go smoke.
All right, I'm gonna leave you with Cowboy Data. And there he is. All right, then I'm gonna turn off our faces. Okay. Wait, how do I do that? Where is it? This one. Okay, faces are gone, and now I'm gonna turn off the sound, and we'll be right back. me.
Or can I come through this way?
Probably can, actually.
Yes, look
Nice.
at that.
That's way better. Okay,
Why am I making things difficult?
we're recording. We are Voices Live.
Hello, Voice Live.
Our cameras are there. Now I just gotta move the thing. Oh, you did it, Doug. Thank you. I couldn't figure it out. You got it with your hand motions.
Just like I can open the doors.
Psst.
I was wrong. Garrick's in the second episode.
Yeah.
Fine, let's move on.
Doug has already paid me 10 bars, 5 strips of imaginary latinum, so...
Once we have money, we'll have like a show up on the screen and then like a tally at the bottom.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
No, I don't know, but let's talk about the second episode.
Okay, well, wait, before we do, we have to rate this one first.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, so yeah, let's wrap up with A Man Alone. I think we've talked about everything in A Man Alone.
Yeah, we'll bounce back to it while we talk about the next
sure
one.
we will, yeah. Okay, so the first thing, we have to give it a rating.
Yep.
How many bars of gold pressed latinum out of 10?
I'm going to give it 7 bars
Wow.
and 2 slips of gold plus pressed latinum.
Wait, hold on. I'm going to write this down as we do it. 'Cause otherwise, I have to do work later, and that's not fun.
I'll make it real bad for you. I'll give it 7 bars, 1 strip, and 3 slips.
So that's like 7.1.
0.3.
0.103?
No, just 0.3.
7.1.3?
Yeah.
That's not a real number.
I know. It's Star Trek.
Well, I'm not... I'm giving you 7.108. How's that? Does that work for you?
Change my vote. I like that you're trying to convert it to a decimal, though.
I have to type something that's a number in this box.
I'm a spoiler.
Hold on, let's see what chat thinks also.
Sure.
I'll just put in... Putting in 10 options is annoying.
Oh, boy, yeah.
I guess it's not that bad. 9 and 0. 10. There we go.
Yay!
Okay. If y'all want to vote on what rating you give this, there's your link. Okay, so you gave it a 7.10 something.
I was just
Wait, why a 7?
7, because this is like solid 90s Star Trek, you know? It gets the job done. It does what it needs to do.
Yeah.
I also give it 5 mushrooms because it is also solidly at the medium of Star Trek weirdness. You know what I mean?
Out of 5?
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the mycelial network is,
I want to start rating magic space mushrooms because I really like that.
The mycelial network is 7. The wormhole aliens, I think I gave that an 8 as far as space magic weirdness mushroom nonsense. So yeah, the whole clone thing, that's a 5. That's just weird.
Yeah.
It's not magic-y, but it is just...
Well, the mask is magic-y. the mask is worse than the mycelial network.
Well, the mask...
What's up, Mike? Welcome.
The mask is almost like negative mushrooms because it's, like I said, it's Mission Impossible technology. It's 400 years old human technology that the Bajorans are using for disguises. So yeah,
okay,
7 and a fraction for this one.
Yeah, so for me, like the silliness of the clone plot really pulls this episode down. Like you can't really take this episode seriously.
Right.
This is not an episode that I'd show someone and say, "Watch Deep Space Nine. Check this out. You'll love it." This would be like, well, maybe skip this. You know, the only thing that I think is really worth watching as far as character development for the rest of the show in this episode is the stuff with Keiko, Nog, and Jake.
Right,
like those are the things that I really like. Now you want shrimp. That's dangerous with a name like that.
James Shrimp
Fajitas.
Like my Doug's wrong.
Yeah, I think that really brings this episode down. I really like the stuff with Keiko. I really like the stuff with Nog and Jake. But
all the building,
the character interactions with the rest of the characters are all a little clunky and weird, and don't really represent where the show's going or what it's like trying to do. But I really enjoy it because it's dumb. Like the whole Odo storyline becomes so silly by the end with the whole Scooby-Doo ending. I really enjoy that, but I don't think it's good. You know, I don't think that it's like worth a high rating. So I'm gonna give this like a solid 5.
All right, that's fair.
I think that this is a 5.
Yep.
Okay, what else do we... Okay, we have to vote... Oh, favorite character. Oh, and let's see what chat says.
Oh, yeah.
All right, what did chat rate this? Oh, no, it's tied between 6 and 8. It gets a 7!
It gets a 7. I was right, man.
Whoa!
Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah, Doug was right. Doug was right. Okay, so now we got to vote on favorite character. Making these polls every time is annoying.
It does seem annoying.
But it's too much fun to not do. There might be an easier way. I don't know.
We'll look into it.
So, favorite character. Who do we want to nominate? If you want to nominate someone in chat, you have to nominate for favorite character. Who do you got?
Boy, for this first episode...
It's a little tricky.
I want to say Garrick.
You can't nominate someone who's not in it.
Or can I?
I mean, no, you can't.
Okay, my favorite character is the Ibudan clones. Because I will never
Old Man Ibudan
stop thinking about...
the clone that we never saw awake?
I don't know, man. Can I just nominate Ibudan, and then that includes all 3 of his instances?
I'm just going to put Ibudan's clone, because it makes me happy to write it. Is that cool with you?
Yeah.
Ibudan's clone is a really good choice for favorite character in this episode.
Because I won't stop thinking about him.
Yeah, Ibudan's clone is the most compelling character in this episode, and he was never seen awake.
One
like
of
the
the
second
most compelling
one,
characters in all of Star Trek.
Totally. That is such a good point. Because, okay, for favorite character, that's like the character you want to know more about. Like the thing you're most the person you're most interested in the story.
I mean, I was throwing it out there as a joke, as sarcasm, but yeah.
I think you're right, though. I think you're right.
I was more right than I realized.
I was going to say Keiko. I might still say Keiko, because Keiko's doing something, like... Keiko's seeing a problem in her own life and fixing it in a positive way that's good for her community. And it's just like a really... I don't know. I'm going Keiko.
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool choice. Okay, so now chat gets to vote between those two. Ibudan's clone or Keiko. And then is anyone else nominated for favorite character? Odo's nominated.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
He got harassed by an angry mob. Poor guy. Okay, Odo. I think Odo is a very solid option. So that is going to be our vote. We got 3 options here. I don't know why I'm yelling.
3 options for sale. 3 options.
I'm using
but you let them down now.
I'm using a different mic this time. I hope it sounds good. Those are your options, you guys. Click that straw poll to vote.
Yeah, Amanda's always making the points I agree with.
He
could have really tried to cover it up. Odo could have covered up the crime, but he took it with grace.
That's such a good
when he
point.
had to not be involved in the investigation.
Oh, we didn't even talk about
He
that.
knew when to recuse himself.
Well, he had to be kind of pushed out, but he did a relatively good job of dealing with it.
Well, yeah, because it's ultimately Odo respects authority above him, even if he, when he's given that direct order.
Yeah. He'll follow it.
He'll follow it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or he'll try to sneak around it. And this time, that's, like, too far for him. That would be fundamentally disrespecting the structure of law.
Oh, shit. Odo wins for chat's favorite character. I really thought it was going to be Ibudan's clone.
They didn't like the...
I'm going to start a band called Ibudan's Clone. I love saying Ibudan.
Yeah.
Okay, and then finally we have to vote on best performance for this episode. So let me make a poll for this, too.
Yeah.
Best performance. This is just on the actor.
Yeah, see, I'm always... well, once again, I'm going to go with Avery
Brooks?
Yeah. Even though he had less time, and then Renee Auberjon had more time. But he's still... I don't know.
I'm just going to put character names here. Sorry, go ahead.
I appreciate his acting, but it's still... I don't know. It's, like, good for Star Trek.
I'm going to put... Jake Sisko, Cyril Lofton.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Just for that one moment where he has this, like, perfect delivery of being such a kid, Yeah. Anyone else nominated for best performance? Oh, the kids. They both killed it. Okay. Let's put in Nog also. Nog is great. And Nog's portrayal, Aaron Eisenberg's portrayal of Nog is perfect from day one.
Yeah.
And, like, Rom has no idea who his character is in this episode, but Nog is exactly who he is.
Yeah.
And just grows from there.
And to me, that's a writer's choice, you know, because Nog, I believe... No, sorry, Rom, whoever the actor is there, his name... I never remember anyone's names. He's doing what he was told to do, which is to play...
Yeah. There's the poll for...
I am not going to let the Federation teach my children.
There's the poll for best performance. Oh, that reminds me. You know who else was good in this? Was... Vaughn Armstrong, who played Dinar.
Oh, yeah.
The Cardassian.
Yeah.
Vaughn Armstrong has played 12 different characters in Star Trek history. An unparalleled amount of characters by one man.
Wow.
And he's great in this episode. He's really good. Okay, the poll is running. And then I'm going to write down our... so best performance, you said Avery Brooks.
Yep.
I said Cirroc Lofton. And then chat says... Oh, we're tied between Odo and Jake. We need a tiebreaker. We need one more person to vote on this one. Even more than Jeffrey Combs. Yeah, he does have more than Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah, because Jeffrey Combs tend to play recurring characters. And this guy, it seems like he's just playing one-offs.
Except the Admiral he plays in Enterprise is there for several years.
Right.
Admiral Forrest.
Yeah.
Great character.
The quit fucking around in space, Archer.
Yeah. Oh no, now we have a three-way tie.
Yes.
Between Jake, Sisko, and Odo.
When this happens, we're just going to write
we have to make up a name.
Undecided.
We have to make up a name that's a combination of all three. Benjamin Jodo. I actually,
I'm on board.
I'm pretty happy with Benjamin Jodo. All right.
If chat can't decide, this is what chat gets.
Benjamin Jodo. That makes me real happy. Like my spreadsheet?
That's pretty good, yeah. I like it.
The spreadsheet's shared on my Discord if anyone wants to check it out. Where's the color for the background? Fill color. Just to make it like easier to see.
Yeah, alternating colors. Nice.
Yeah, and then I'll do... Oops.
Ooh.
Nope. I fucked it up. Nope. This is spreadsheet making with Jesse and Doug.
I'm going to put you open indoors.
Austin, what's up? Austin calls me Stoner Jeff Goldblum, and I'm very proud of that.
That's fair.
Yeah, right? Okay. Okay, well, let's move on. Oh, wait. How many magic space mushrooms? I don't want to keep track of that, but I'm going to...
Because you don't need to keep track of it.
You don't need to keep track of that.
In your mind.
Exactly. But I think that this one gets a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
Just for the fucking face thing.
I like how we have different scales for these, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's good. I'm so glad that we disagree on everything, because it makes it so much more interesting to talk about.
Until you come around and realize that Discovery squarely fits in with all of these other things that we're seeing in Star Trek.
Until you realize that Garrick is not in A Man Alone.
That's fair.
Oh my god. Okay, well, let's talk about Past Prologue. He is in Past Prologue. The first appearance of one of my absolute favorite characters from all of Star Trek. Garrick. Right? Yeah, Garrick. I'm like, wait, what's his name? One of my favorite people ever, whose name I think I remember. So yeah, the premise of this episode is that there's this terrorist named Tanalos, who is a Bajoran terrorist who's trying to escape the Cardassians at the beginning of the episode, that wants political asylum on Deep Space Nine. We don't know whether or not to trust him or not. He may or may not be a member of the Kon Ma, which is a terrorist organization. It's like the Al-Qaeda of Bajorans. And you know, Kira's on his side and Sisko's not on his side, and you know, it's all very confusing, but it turns out that he is actually still a Kon Ma member trying to blow up the wormhole because he wants to keep the Federation and the rest of the galaxy away from Bajor.
Right.
And then we kind of realize at the end that he's willing to go to great lengths to do that, including killing Bajorans, which is where the firm line in the sand is drawn between him and Kira.
Right. Because that was the other thing, is that he had been, in the Kon Ma at least, had been part of killing Bajorans in the past. But I think it was maybe Sisko asked it, like, what about after the occupation ended?
Right.
Where they're willing to be like, okay, whatever you did during the occupation gets a free pass for the most part.
Yeah.
But if it's anything that you did after that, that's where, like you said, Kira draws the line. Kira's, I think... ultimately fine with him killing Bajorans during the occupation for his end goals, or at least she'll still work with them. But him wanting to do it now is a hard no for her.
Well, yeah, I mean,
because she knows that
it seems like they're all like iffy on killing. Like, it seems like killing Cardassians is not even a crime.
Fine. Right.
But, like, the killing of Bajorans is where Kira's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Do you think that there would have been situations where they'd had to kill their own people?
Well, I think they said that explicitly with the Khon Ma, is that including people that they thought were collaborators or whatever else.
You're right. Totally.
Because that's one of the things where they're establishing, I think for us, the viewing audience, is to be like, oh, you should be suspicious of this organization itself that he is working for.
Right.
Like, he can be a reformed member of this. They have to do a real quick info dump on you of, like, these are what these guys are like.
Yeah.
And that's why I really think that the very explicit, was it after the occupation question, is to draw that line for the audience.
Yeah. Yeah, Austin, that's what we're here for, man. To be your friends, to talk about nerdy shit.
Yeah.
In exquisite detail.
Deep dive into Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, I thought that Tanalos was a really interesting character on paper. I think that, like, the script is really interesting. Mm-hmm. I struggled a little with this actor's portrayal because he was so... like, he was just a troublemaker from the beginning.
Yeah.
You can just tell he's just like, well, yeah, he's like snotty about. He's like a vegan, you know. He's like one of those vegans who's like, you should never eat meat because meat's bad for you. And if you're one of those meat eaters now, you know, yeah, totally. But he was just like that with being a terrorist or not, which does not work for me as a character.
Right.
It just didn't really make sense that he was mocking Kira for not being, willing to kill anymore. It just didn't
right.
like.
Apparently, you don't love Bajoran freedom as much as I do.
Yeah, he was a little too snotty and arrogant for me. Yeah. The portrayal, but I could have seen a different actor with those same words having this make a little bit more sense.
Yeah,
because I felt like if you're just reading body language, then the story doesn't work as well. If you're just reading, I watched both of these episodes like 2 weeks ago, and I almost forgot what happened. So last night I read the descriptions, and I actually watched them again this morning.
Nice.
Just like on my phone while I was getting ready for everything. But reading the descriptions, I was like, that's a really interesting story. I don't remember this episode being that interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
I watched them both yesterday.
Yeah.
And then this afternoon on my way over here, I was thinking, oh wait, how does the second one that we're watching, how does that end? How does past Prologue end?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Because this is the episodic issue of Star Trek. It's like all this stuff is building up, and then zoom, let's slam out a solution in the last 5 minutes.
It also doesn't even have an ending. Like they stop Ibudan, they get back to the space station, and Kira and Cisco look at each other kind of angrily and don't say anything, and then walk away, and it's over. And there's like no resolution.
Right.
The whole thing with
the Klingon ladies are just gone.
The Klingon ladies, yeah. Lursa and Bator,
bride takers are just gone.
The Duras sisters were in this episode for no goddamn reason, and then they were just like barely in it.
It's just to drag over the TNG watchers.
It's totally just to have a commercial where Lursa and Bator are in it. I love Lursa and Bator. Like, give me more Lursa and Bator. Give me a whole show about Lursa and Bator. I want all these
still hard for TNG? Well, we've got Ursa and Lator coming up on Deep Space Nine
and boobs. Their outfits are ridiculous. There's so much
ridiculous.
It's like. What is it's not side boob because it's like a crescent moon of boob. It's like it's like moon boob. What's up, Patrick?
It is side boob, but it's not the side you're used to seeing.
It's the inside boob. Mid boob, yeah. It's very weird. It is not a logical outfit for warrior women to wear.
Front boob all the way.
Although maybe there's like a in-universe explanation of like they're using it to distract men so they can win fights. But even if you do that, it's gonna annoy me.
Yeah, there's no good explanation for it.
Yeah, it makes no sense. But it's so iconic. Right. It's like so iconic. The look of the Duras sisters, and oh my god, I remember Barbara Walsh is one of their names, and Gwyneth. Oh my god, I have these names. Gwyneth.
Deep pulls.
Damn it, I'm not quite there. I got 3/4 of the names of these two women. Barbara Walsh and Gwyneth Paltrow, I think. Yeah, I really like the Duras sisters. I love that they show up on Deep Space Nine, but the way that they're used is so lame. Yeah, it's just like. They're just a nonsense way to move a plot along.
Right.
Because Garrick convinces them to tell him that they have a Bellitrium device, right? And like he's like, you got to tell me your plan, or you got to tell me what you're getting from him. And they tell him, and it doesn't make sense. Like, why would they tell him? There's no reason.
Tell me your plan. We're not going to tell you your plan.
Yeah, but
but maybe you should. All right, fuck it. We'll tell you our plan.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how the episode ends too. Is like they're on the shuttlecraft, and Tanalos is ready to kill Kira, and Cisco's like, well, you can surrender to me, or you can surrender to the Klingon warship that's right behind me.
Okay.
And he's like, okay, I'll surrender to you. It's literally that easy. I mean, this guy, this terrorist who has been such a hard line the whole episode, just gives up at the end, and then it's over.
What made me wonder is when him and Kira were in their showdown, and he's like, hey, if you don't set the controls to the wormhole, I'll blow up this planet and all these people.
Right.
And she's like, would you? And he's like, yeah, I totally would. And I feel like she'd have gone like, no, you fucking won't.
Right.
And he would have gone, yeah, you're right, I won't.
Totally.
Because that's how it ends.
Yeah, totally. I think that you're right. I think that he wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
And his characterization is a weak point in this episode.
Yeah.
And I think that unfortunately the episode is all about him, so it kind of it kind of muddies the water of what they're talking about. Yes, this is Doug.
Hello.
Hence Doug Space Nine. It's a very creative name. Doug Space Nine. Doug Space Nine.
I still can't. I don't know the theme song.
What you're doing is working for me, though, for sure. But I think the interesting stuff in this episode is all coming from Kira and her relationship to the Khon Ma.
It's the Bajoran politics template. I mean, this starts that template as, and they go back to this many a time.
Yeah,
and it's I find it's one of the more interesting parts of the show. It's the deeper exploration of a culture in the Star Trek universe.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and even all of that stuff that I liked. It still wasn't quite enough for me in this episode. This episode felt pretty weak to me. It's not like bad. It's just kind of thin. There's just not that much to sink your teeth into. Like A Man Alone at least had a Scooby-Doo ending to entertain you with, and had like a clone growing and a man killing his clone, and the name Ibudan, and like so much stuff, and he sleeps in a pail, and and this one is just kind of like a terrorist who's unwilling to let go of war.
Right.
And there's a story there that I think is really important and good to tell, but it's tricky because our country has such a different relationship with terrorism than we did when this show was created.
Right.
And I think that
it becomes like later on they just constantly refer to Kira as a terrorist.
Right. They throw the word terrorist around a lot without really seeming to understand what it means.
Well, no, I mean they are right though. I mean that's the thing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't use those words today for this show, especially hero characters, but it's appropriate because it does qualify, I think that's an interesting accident of history for this show.
Yeah.
Is that what's changed is Americans' perception of terrorism, and what it means.
Yeah, and I like we talked about this last time, but I like the idea that one army's terrorist is another army's freedom fighter. And But this goes a step further to say, like, the Khon Ma is a terrorist organization. The Khon Ma is not even at odds with their own government.
They could have made it like the Maquis. That's effectively, they're in the same ballpark.
Yeah, totally. So there's this it's a splinter group basically outside of, this is Saw Gerrera's rebels. These guys are willing to go to lengths that the mainstream fight is not willing to go. So
you need me on that wormhole wall.
Yeah, but then his characterization is just this like snotty, like entitled brat.
Yeah,
and it makes that does not make sense. Like, if you had a characterization of someone like Saw Gerrera, actually, I think that was a really great characterization of a terrorist. If you want to consider him that, who is maybe a little bit unhinged and like can't let go of this fight that he's a part of, and it's kind of broken him. And letting go of this fight would mean losing the last bit of himself that is left. And really interesting character, even though he's barely on screen. Like all of that comes through in that performance. I love that character so much. Also, did you ever notice that his suit looks a lot like Darth Vader's suit, and he breathes into it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It actually plays the Darth Vader noise.
Yep.
For me, they're trying to say like this is the opposite side of this fight. This is the Darth Vader of the Republic. Well, not the Republic, the Resistance.
Right.
No. The Rebel Alliance, I guess, at that point. There's no Republic yet. The Old Republic is dead. There's no New Republic, but it is the Rebel Alliance. And he's a splinter group of the... Fuck. I'm gonna just move on. Amanda says, can we take a minute to talk about how dumb Bashir is? We can definitely devote at least like 10 to 15 minutes to how dumb Bashir is. Maybe. We'll see. Maybe 2 minutes.
What I wrote down, for genetically engineered genius, Julian is dense.
He has...
What would I need with a new suit? No.
Yeah.
Come to my shop at 5 minutes to 10, right before something important is going to happen. But I don't think I need a new suit. It's not about the suit!
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. Doug, do you have your own channel?
Sure.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, but I don't tell anyone what it is.
Oh.
I'll eventually make one for Douglas W. Fail, but that's not there now.
Cool. But you know what Doug did make? His memes for Deep Space Nine episodes that we've been talking about. Doug is actually like a well-circulated meme producer. Yeah. I don't even know. Doug makes a lot of memes.
I make a lot of memes.
And they're very good.
I look like the kind of guy that makes a lot of memes.
He made memes for the episodes we talked about, and they're so great that we actually decided to make an Instagram for Doug Space Nine to like track these memes, and maybe I'll throw up some like screenshots of the episodes and stuff too.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and do one for each episode.
Yeah, but let's just look at them now because we have the ones that Doug made for every episode we've talked about so far.
Yep.
So this is the pilot.
Your ships are damaging. Why am I gonna read my own memes?
I'm gonna read it. Your ships are damaging to our non-corporeal forms. Whoa, cool space mall. Y'all come through in EVs for real. Like, what is time, you know? You ever think about that? It's like stoner wormhole aliens.
Stoner wormhole aliens, that's exactly right.
I love it. Because they're of course they're stoners.
Okay.
This one makes no sense.
I am Sirach!
Oh yeah, that's Kirk!
Yeah.
I am happy! That's like the worst moment of the original series. I did not put that together.
I
just loved it because it was funny.
Many worst moments of the original series. Nowhere near the worst. It's real bad.
That gets my vote for worst moment.
Okay, well, I can't wait till we go through this one.
Yeah, we got to put the rest of these up on Instagram.
Yeah, I was going to do it after the episode. I'll post them. People that are in the chat now, you get a little early preview.
Nice. When you say you're on board with Discovery, but when you say you're on board with Discovery, but now only because you saw a Klingot got hair.
When you say you're on board with Disco now, but only because you saw a Klingot got hair.
I accept your apology, but not your explanation. That was my best Von Armstrong.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I love this one.
Thank you.
And then I think this was my favorite.
I also like saying Klingot from Enterprise.
I thought it was a typo, but I really like it.
No, that's in the Enterprise pilot, I think they refer to them as like, these dang Klingons.
Oh, really?
The humans, just because that's their first.
That is awesome.
Remember the Klingon running through the field and they get shot with a shotgun?
Yeah, totally. In like Bozeman, Montana.
Yeah.
I love that episode. Roses are red, Han's a nerf herder. Killing your own clone is still murder. That is solid gold.
Thank you.
That's
I was very
favorite.
proud of that one.
I love that. Okay, so that's going to be on the Deep Space Nine Instagram. And there's a link in the description. We just started it today, so you can be like the first follower. What's up, Corey Fisher? Amanda says put that on your resume.
Hey, you should follow these guys. That's right. Us. Amanda's my favorite.
Amanda's the best. She's awesome. Doug, you should join
just because she agrees with me. That's
Doug,
if anyone wants to curry my favor.
Doug, you should join our Discord. There's a sci-fi channel.
Okay.
Where you can... I'll post these memes in there, too.
Sure. Send me links. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. What else happens in oh, wait. We didn't talk about how dumb Bashir is.
He's just...
Enough. Yeah, he like... No. First of all, if a spy tells you to come to a tailor shop at a certain time, don't be 2 minutes late.
Yeah.
Like... And then also when he tells you to try on a suit, don't try on the suit. Like he looks in the mirror and he's about to try on the suit. That's not why you're there. You don't need to try on the suit.
He also has to go ask Daddy what this means.
Yeah,
just, like, burst in while Dad's working. Hey, I got a question, you guys.
Yeah.
Ops must be fucking sick of Julian. Like, can we not get a lock on this door?
Yeah, Julian's characterization is so opposite of what he becomes later.
Yes.
Like, I mean, we've spoiled this already, but as soon as they reveal his genetic engineering background, he just acts completely different. It's like, they try to retcon this and say that this is an act, you know?
Amanda just said that Discovery is a trash fire.
Oh, high five, Amanda. Boom.
Right.
She agrees with both of us on some things and not other things, like human beings do.
It's okay to have wrong opinions about Star Trek. I can accept that.
Yeah, that's good because you have many.
People are gambling. Nice,
yeah, so
nice.
I guess the retconning is that he's pretending to be dumb because he's super smart, but it doesn't track.
It doesn't track at all.
No, not at all. It doesn't seem,
because I think he could be book smart, but still just like socially inept. And the weird part about this one is that he later on is shown to have a love of spy stories, so you'd think he'd at least understand the basics of the genre.
I do like that he's nerding out about being in a spy story, though.
Yes.
Like, he's totally having a nerdgasm. The moment that Garrick walks over to him, he's like, I'm in a spy novel. You know, he's so excited.
The Garrick-Julian relationship is fascinating to me.
It's so good.
Because I think it is fraught with sexual tension that is not addressed in the text of the show, but I feel like whoever the actor is that plays Garrick, that is informing a good part of the way he's portraying Garrick.
Every word that comes out of Andrew Robinson's mouth has subtext.
It's all quadruple entendres,
totally,
feints and dodges. It's beautiful.
But there's also like a kindness that emanates from him that's so cool. I love Garrick. I think his portrayal is like kind of a magic trick.
It's something that seems like it's hammy and over the top, but it is not. It's actually, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, if you were a member of the Obsidian Order and had been trained as like a super secret spy, your public persona would be very calculated. Yeah. And he's just so calculated. Everything he says is calculated.
It's interesting. He's the only person I think that has an ongoing performance that is of the same sort of like almost ethereal weirdness as Avery Brooks, as far as a character goes.
Absolutely. They're like similar. There's similar styles of like stage acting. Yeah, I think.
And most of the Cardassians, that's kind of the advantage, is that especially the male Cardassians, it's always just an over the top, very it's like what people do with Klingons, you know. Yeah, you can just kind of really sink your teeth into it and get hammy with it.
Yeah, the guy from Emissary, the background Klingon, not Gul Dukat, but the other guy who was just like, "I'll get you, you dirty Federation bastards," you know. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, Gul Dukat is similarly, it has a similar vibe to Garrick in some ways, that there's like this sliminess to some of the Cardassian characters that carries through, but Garrick does it in a way that's charming and like it's so fascinating.
Amanda. Oh yes, he was hitting on him. That's right. Thank you, Amanda.
Oh wait, you think Garrick is hitting on Julian?
100%. This is what I'm saying.
Of course.
This. I think that is a huge part of the relationship. Like I said, not necessarily addressed directly in the text, but certainly in the characterization of the actor.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's interesting. I never thought about that, but I buy that. I buy that for sure. You know what else is really good?
We'll see it more as it goes on.
Yeah, I'm gonna be looking for that now.
Yeah. This is so.
That's the slash fiction that I want.
The reason that I thought that Garrick was in the first episode was not because I remembered him being in it, because I put my notes separated by show, and then underneath the first show title, A Man Alone, I had written Garrick and Julian's relationship, because it was a note to myself to like pay attention, because that had been something that I had been mulling over and wanted to consciously think about from the beginning. Yeah. So I was believing my own note over my memory. But yes, it's something I think that is worth watching.
If I write something down, it's automatically more reliable than my memory. So I get that for sure.
The other thing that I'm writing down that I'm trying to
touching Julian. Yeah, totally. Like to caress him.
Yeah. And the other thing that I was trying to track is the mystery of Odo and his comm badge. When Odo turns into things, like in this one, he turns into a mouse. I think in the last one he turned into a chair. Right. But then when he comes back, he has his comm badge. And in some of them, it makes sense. Like, he's a fucking chair, so the comm badge can just be absorbed in there.
Right.
Like, the mouse, you're getting right on the line of, like, boy, that is, like, the bulk of his body has got to be a comm badge. It's just, like, legs and a mouse head.
You x-ray this mouse, it's just a pile of goo with a comm badge in the middle
of it. Yeah,
that is hilarious. I never thought about that.
Because otherwise, you have to start to accept, like, he can put the comm badge into some mysterious pocket dimension where he gets his free mask from, and then bring it back.
or he's making a comm badge out of himself that is not real and is decorative.
That's the other thing.
And has a real comm badge sometimes and a fake one other times.
Exactly, and that's a part of the thing that I'm trying to keep in mind. So far, it all works physically. I know of one that's coming up where it doesn't work, and I'm curious to see if he actually uses it within that context.
I think I prefer to believe that there's a comm badge inside the mouse, you know?
I think anything else gives it immediately 10 mushrooms.
Yeah, totally. Comm badge inside the mouse, for me,
5 mushrooms.
is like 1 mushroom.
No, to me, that's 5. That's just like, that's the shapeshifter is weird, but once you accept that, then having stuff inside of him like a goddamn gelatinous cube is fine.
Yeah, totally fine.
Bag of holding. Ugh, yes. Odo is a bag of holding.
A bag of...
It's D&D stuff, you wouldn't get it.
Oh. Okay, so you know what other scene I really like? And you know what I think was really, really great character development? Even though the dialogue is a little stilted, is the conversation between Odo and Kira, where she's trying to decide if she should, you know, side with Cisco or side with Tanalos.
Right.
And he basically tells her, you already know what you want to do, so just do it. It shows this depth of history between them that I think is really cool.
Because then he calls Cisco before she says, okay, go ahead and call Cisco. And and this is where her portrayal, the actor's portrayal, is really good, because she does do a lot with her eyes there, looking up, almost like, oh, you're doing it, and then like, oh, right, but that is what I want to do. You are correct.
Yeah.
I thought that was that was a good moment.
But some of Odo's performance in this moment was a little weird, because he's like, she's like, he's like, do you want to do that? She's like, why? I used to be this. He's like, used to. You know, and he did that like 3 times with 3 different things, and it just was a bit much for me.
Yeah, that is the stilted, heavy-handed Star Trek dialogue we all know and love.
Yeah, have you ever noticed that every time Worf delivers a line, he always pauses before the last word? He's like, I found our engagement invigorating. Or like, she raised a point that was very intriguing. Every line, just you'll never hear it another way. And sometimes people on this show do that too. It's a very Star Trek thing to do.
I would say that these Star Trek actors all have a certain style.
Yeah. And I wonder if it's like directed or if it's just contagious or...
Kirk's set the stage for just throw in pauses if you need to.
Like, you know how everyone that we know started saying like, baby, at the same time? It's just like one of those things. It's like, that's a better way to say that word. It's just more fun. And then everyone starts doing it. And then maybe that's how acting is. It's like, well, I guess I should just... Pause. That reminded me of actually something in the episode prior that we didn't talk about, is the relationship between Quark and Odo, which I really love. I mean, they're totally like the Londo and Jakar of this show. And the idea that Quark being Odo's worst enemy is the closest thing he has to a best friend is really interesting. I love the scene where, I think actually maybe my favorite scene of that episode, besides Cirroc Lofton being adorable, is the scene where Odo's been relieved of command, and then he offers to Quark. He says, "Would you be able to use a shapeshifter in your organization?" And this like unspoken thing passes between them, where Quark has this moment of like bright-eyed, "Oh my God, that'd be amazing!" But then he has this moment of, "Oh, but it'd be Odo, so no." And then he decides to say out loud, "You almost had me there," to kind of let Odo off the hook.
See, I think it is a joke. I don't think
Odo was. I was going to ask you about that, actually. Sorry, go ahead.
No. You asked me about it, and my answer is I don't think it is a legitimate offer.
Okay.
I think because it is, that would be more against... we have to choose which least like Odo's character is this. Is he being serious and willing to start a life of crime, or is Odo suddenly the kind of person who makes really cutting satirical jokes on demand. Neither one of which fits
neither.
But the making a joke is more likely to me.
I think Odo's deepest need is to feel like he belongs, because he's always been the other. He's always been the only one of his kind, and he suddenly has no place to be.
I think his need is to boss people around.
Exactly. He wants to boss people around in the place that he belongs. And I think that he also wants to keep Quark in line. And I think that as Quark's chief of bar security, that would be and I also think that he really likes Quark and wants to stay and hang out with Quark. I think Quark is the closest thing he has to a best friend.
Yes.
Even though they are enemies, I think that he is... I think that he likes Quark and wants to be friends with Quark, but can't because of all of Quark's life choices.
Right.
It's like someone that he really admires their personality, but hates their decisions. And I think that he was being serious because he had a moment of weakness where he wanted to feel like he belonged with someone. It's the only place he could think of to be. And he also wants to keep an eye on Quark. But I think that Quark would never go for it because he can't do his illegal dealings with Odo there, and he knows that. And there's this moment of sadness when Odo is like, yeah, of course I was joking. And then he, like, looks down sad for a moment. And that, to me, is confirmation that he actually wanted that.
Yeah, fair.
But I do think that scene can be read either way.
Yeah, yeah.
And I actually read the...
Fun headcanon.
Yeah, I read the description on Memory Alpha, and they sided with you. They said that Quark realized that Odo was joking.
Right.
And in the episode description, which I'm like, oh, really? Because I never thought of that. It never occurred to me that was how that was going down. But yeah, I love stuff like that. I love moments of writing and acting where there are, like, multiple interpretations and depth to the relationship. I love that type of shit.
Odo hates the game, but not the player.
Yeah, and Quark
Dabo
loves the game and loves the player. Yeah, okay, anyway, back to past prologue. Yeah, I think that...
I just want to call it the humans in their pretense. Amanda mentioned that. What you were saying, that was a great scene between Kira and Odo. And
yeah.
The humans with your pretense was a good... That is very classic Odo, where they do show him as the outsider that does look at human and Bajoran and whatever cultures with a different eye. So I thought that was a good call.
Yeah, totally. I really like that scene. I really like Kira's arc in the story. I think her kind of... I mean, we have 2 episodes in a row that revolve around the... Bajoran military characters, which are Odo and Kira, even though Odo's not a Bajoran, but he is part of the Bajoran military. He wears the uniform. Although I guess it's kind of like an honorary constable thing.
Could be. I mean, maybe that's if you went to Bajor and then went to a small town, maybe they would have constables,
Yeah. Maybe constable is just like the Universal Translator's translation of whatever word it is in Bajoran, even though Bajoran's right shifter in English. But yeah, 2 episodes in a row where it's really about these outside characters learning that Sisko has their best interests in mind and is going to make the right call, and they can actually work with Federation law.
Right.
And that's something I love about Star Trek, is the idea that Federation law is supposed to be what is good and fair for all species.
Right.
Not just for humans.
Right.
Which I think is, all revolving around the Prime Directive.
Right.
Which involves, like, staying out of the way when it's not your deal, Like Sisko says, like, we can't arrest someone if they haven't done something wrong.
Right. And they do test that in the show more and more, which is good.
Right. Totally. I do question, if a known terrorist comes on board, and he was there to blow up the wormhole, is it right to put him in jail when he gets there?
Right.
Probably not, but I think that's Odo wanted to put, like, Lursa and Bator in jail and call the Klingons and have them come pick him up.
So far, if you let Odo lock up whoever he wants to lock up, he'd have done good.
Yeah, he Sisko putting kids in jail. He'd put Nog in jail in episode 1.
You know what, though? You know who Odo has to stop locking up?
Who?
His feelings.
Totally. What did you think of... Oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm about to change the topic. So.
Change away.
Okay, what did you think about the plan, the Kon Ma's plan to blow up the wormhole?
I mean, I think it's, at its core, a good idea from their point of view. If the wormhole... No, I'm sorry. It makes sense without looking too deep at it. If the wormhole is gone, then we can have our freedom. The trouble is that the Cardassians, I think, have shown that they would just go right back in out of fucking spite and vengeance,
Yeah.
And I don't know how hard the Federation would defend them at this point in time. I think it would turn into a different sort of show were it to happen, but I don't think the Kon Ma would get what they want out of it right away,
Yeah, I also think that the best chance Bajor has of not having something like the occupation happen again is to join the galactic community and possibly even join the Federation, because then you have Federation protection.
Or to get enough technology themselves. They just need to have an army of ships equivalent to the Cardassians.
Yeah, and they're a whole planet full of people who have been oppressed for so long that they have very little left. I mean, they're not living in like skyscrapers, and they don't have all this built up like fleet of ships or anything. They've been held down for decades. So it makes sense to want to reach out for help at that point. Right. I think that that's the best way to have, like, to ensure that the Klingons can't take over again. Cardassians can't take over again. Because if Bajor is alone and trying to look out for itself, it might not be strong enough to protect itself, because they have been held down for so long. They don't have the resources that they would have had left to their own devices. Right.
What's weird is that the Federation wouldn't just protect them out of hand. There's this. It sort of becomes this thing of like, we have to join the Federation.
I think the Federation is protecting them, without joining. Like, that's why they have a presence at Deep Space Nine, is to kind of facilitate. And like the Federation, by having these shuttlecraft that are like going out and helping with things around Bajor, beaming this Bajoran terrorist on board, like they are helping Bajorans.
So then the plan is misguided, because the wormhole has nothing to do with it.
Right.
That the Federation would still stay there and keep the Cardassians away from Bajor.
It's more xenophobic thinking, like in
it's so weird, because then why didn't the Federation come in and liberate Bajor? They're just like respecting the Cardassians' right to grab planets.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about the Prime Directive, is that it kind of disallowed the Federation from saving Bajor, because it's an internal conflict. Because if you protect the Bajorans as the Federation, you put yourself in a position where you're going to go to war with the Klingons. And the Federation has had a war with the Klingons, and it did not go well for either side. So they definitely don't want to go back to war with I keep saying Klingons, with the Cardassians, because the Cardassian is a very powerful empire.
Right.
Their ships are of like comparable strength to Federation starships. So you really don't want to go to war with the Cardassians if you don't have to. And the Prime Directive dictates that if the Cardassians are committing atrocities outside of your jurisdiction, then you really can't intervene. And I know for a fact that there's some hurt feelings about that. They talk about that a little bit in Next Generation with Ensign Rowe talking to Picard about like the Federation has never helped us before.
Maybe I should rewatch those, and that'll give me a better establishment. Because right now it doesn't make any sense to me.
The Bajorans kicked the Cardassians out on their own, and then asked the Federation for help, and then the Federation's allowed to help. Like, once the door is opened by them asking for help, they can go in.
Where was the Federation 50 years ago when Cardassia was out snatching up worlds that it didn't own?
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, it was because they didn't have to go to war with the Cardassians, because they didn't have to get involved in the internal conflict of other worlds, they are able to step in.
Where was Enterprise C when the Cardassians took Bajor? That's what I want to know.
Dude, the Enterprise C was getting ripped apart by the Nexus.
Where was Enterprise B then?
The Enterprise B was stuck in the time loop.
Sorry, Bajor.
From yesterday's Enterprise.
All the Enterprises were all getting torn up.
No, wait, I'm wrong. No. Magic. Enterprise C is in the time loop. Enterprise B was ripped up by the Nexus. Excuse me, I got that backwards. Enterprise A was Kirk's second ship, and then there's the original Enterprise that was destroyed in the third movie, and then there's also the NX-01, which is just retconning the fact that there was an Enterprise before that, because it's not like a Federation starship. It's just it's a Starfleet ship. It just doesn't make any. And the NX implies that it's a
extra class.
It's like a prototype.
Anyway. New extra.
I just had a stroke.
That's pretty good. I was just proud of myself of thinking of Enterprise B.
Enterprise B, captained by the dude from Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Michael J. Fox's Spin City.
Oh, yeah.
Alan Ruck.
Yeah, he's on Succession, HBO Succession.
Oh, what's that?
It's like this drama-type show about a large media empire headed by this kind of dickhead old dude. And then his son is maybe going to take over, but then his dad like fucks him out of taking over the thing. And then there's all this like back and forth machinations, and it's interesting if you like that kind of thing. There's like zero magic, there's no space stuff,
dude.
But it's still pretty good.
That reminds me, I just started watching this show called The First on Hulu. It's a Hulu original. It's a near future sci-fi about the first Mission to Mars.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I've not seen it, but I've seen that it exists.
And the lead actor, I was like, that guy looks just like Sean Penn, but it's definitely not Sean Penn. He's like a weird knockoff Sean Penn.
Okay.
That is in fact Sean Penn. It is Sean Penn. He's in this show. I'm like, there's no way Sean Penn is in a Hulu original show.
But he is.
But it is Sean Penn. And
could be a clone of Sean Penn.
I think her name is Natasha McElhone or something like that. I might be forgetting her name. She was the lead female character in Californication and in The Truman Show.
Okay.
I love this actress, and she's like the female lead on the show. She's kind of like Elon Musk of the future, trying to get people to Mars.
Okay.
The first episode was fantastic, and it was like really subtle sci-fi where it looked almost like our Earth, you know?
Right.
With just a couple of differences, and the fact that they're going to Mars. It seemed like it was set, 20 years in the future, or 15 years in the future or something.
Near future sci-fi.
Yeah, I really highly recommend it. And I also started catching up in The Expanse. I'm like halfway through season 2, and that shit is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I need to rewatch season 1. I haven't seen any season 2, but yeah, that to me is the show that fulfills the promise of Babylon 5 to the nth degree. Oh,
William is saying hi from the future. That's right, because we're in the past, because we're on the old Enterprise right now. Anything else? Anything else in past prologue, or is it time to vote on our ratings?
I had some other small things in past prologue. It's these things that I remember having watched Deep Space Nine last year, and now they're in my mind from the beginning. Like, let's just beam people to Ops when there's probably like
there's no
5 other places.
room.
No, but I mean, like, they can beam people anywhere. That's firmly established.
Yeah, but like he might be he's a dangerous terrorist, and they beamed him into the command center.
And then also, let's call the medical staff up here. Like, you have a fucking beam. Put him somewhere. Like, let's put him in medical prison.
Why don't they beam people to the bridge? And why do they always call people to the bridge?
I don't know.
Like, we need an engineering team on the bridge on the double. Take the turbo lift. Like, beam them up. I don't understand.
So this is in our they don't know it. You know it. In Flight Space 7, one of the ongoing jokes we had is that Murdoch used the beaming technology to go everywhere.
Oh, did
like,
he?
Yeah, anytime he's going somewhere, he would beam there, and then people are like, "You're so fucking lazy."
Yeah, Doug used to do. He does this show called Flight Space 7. He used to do it as a live acted like sketch thing, and then it became a radio play. The cardboard props. The original version with the cardboard props was amazing. I really loved it. Like, the radio show is great, but the cardboard prop thing, it was like a whole show that was just like the Humans Are Dead music video from Flight of the Conchords from their TV show. It was so great.
And you can never watch it because there's no copies anywhere.
No, it doesn't exist. It's just up here.
The radio play, radiolarp.com.
Yeah.
I don't have a channel, but that sort of counts.
Yeah, he's got a podcast channel. Amanda says, why didn't Kira just fight back on the transport?
Oh, yeah, that's weak writing. They do this a lot, where it's like, okay, she's knocked out, so now that can move the story to where we want to go. Like, she's supposed to be like a badass freedom fighter, but now one dude cold cocks her, and that's the end of it.
And he does the classic Star Trek, what's this part of my body called? The palm thrust. the
push your nose into your brain.
Yeah, it's like, bah! Like right in the chin, and it knocks people out. Yeah. Those little logical things in this episode kind of make the narrative fall apart a little bit. Where
it's the nitpicking. It's the fun nitpicking.
It feels like they didn't have a reason to get from point A to point B, and they had to concoct one that didn't quite.
Well, so much of Star Trek is that, like, we need to get from this point to this point, so let's do it with like technobabble, or let's do it with some sort of like weird motivation that makes sense until you really look at it. And it's a lot of hand waving, like, what's more important is what they're saying now.
Right. And in a show about ethics, it's important that those things make sense, because for you to understand who's right and who's wrong ethically, and like if the show is on an ethical side or not,
right,
the logistics have to kind of make sense.
Yeah, but I feel like they still take shortcuts. They still do.
Right.
At this point in the show,
too.
They're doing broad strokes where it's like, oh, this group kills their own kind, even not during the occupation, so these are clearly the bad guys. No matter what you see someone wrestling with, you, at this point in Star Trek time, know where they're going to come out, because you know who the bad guys are. Right. I do think they get a little more nuanced and gray and complicated with it later on, but for now it's still very clear-cut. Yeah, and I wish it wasn't quite that way. I mean, Tanalos makes some good points, but then he's a bad guy because he's willing to blow up 6,000 Bajorans or however many it was. And yeah, I mean, and because his character is so obviously bad because of his portrayal, it just kind of deflates the points. Yeah, Did you see Williams' report from the future? They have Super Mario Ultimate? That sounds amazing. Ooh. I want Mario Maker to come out on the Switch. What's up, Peter Griffin? Welcome, dude. Good to see you.
Yeah, I mean, those logical flaws, and then of course the big one at the end where Tanalos just like surrenders all of a sudden. It's like, oh, we're out of time for this episode, so it's time for Tanalos to surrender. So okay, so let's rate this episode.
Let's rate it. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
It's tough for me. I think it's a 5.5, 6, 5, 5 bars, 5 strips. No, 6 bars.
6 bars.
6 bars. I give it more than I would normally because it's the first one to really go into the Bajoran politics. It really sets up a lot of what comes next in Deep Space Nine as far as an ongoing thread. The previous one, it was like flavoring of that, you know, the Ibadan had a history with the occupation, but that could have been anything. They could have made that something else. This was a core part of it, of the occupation is important to it, and who did what, who was where, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I'll give it a 6.
Yeah, for me, I agree with you that it has more core story to kind of sink your teeth into, but for me, it's just a little, it's just like unsatisfying. They just because of those plot holes, because of Tanalos' characterization, him just being like this smarmy bitch the whole time. It's something about. I find it just kind of underwhelming. I'm gonna give it a 3. I think. Yeah.
Whoa, harsh.
Mostly because it's just kind of like, for me, it's just a little boring.
No, that's fair. I like that your scale goes that low. On the way over here today, that was another thing I was thinking when I was thinking, what would I rate this? And my next thought was, how low would I go on a Star Trek thing?
Yeah. And for me, this is a scale of 1 to 10 for Deep Space Nine, not for like all TV in the world.
Oh, I see.
You know? Okay, wait, we need to make a new poll.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rating. Oh, let's just do this. We'll do lower than 3, 3, and you said 6?
Yeah.
And then higher than 6.
Oh, yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, I think we did this last time, and I forgot about it.
That's a good poll.
Okay, so everyone in chat, here's your poll to vote on what you rate this. And then let me put this in our spreadsheet. So this is past Prologue. And then you gave it a 6, and I gave it a 3.
Solid. I give it 6 kilograms of gold plus platinum.
I looked this up. I looked up the conversions. It's slips, strips, bars, and bricks.
Yeah.
There are...
Thanks to Justin last week who had that.
I think I forgot. I think there's 100 slips in a strip. So I think there's 20 strips in a bar, and there's an unknown amount of bars in a brick.
Right. Okay. Okay. And then in this episode, they don't have that yet because they're going by kilograms. Early in the episode, they say gold. They just say gold, and then it's halfway through the episode where then they say gold pressed platinum.
Yeah. And it's the Duras sisters in gold pressed platinum. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm giving it.
Oh, but you know what? This also has
6 bars.
This does have the Garrick. I'm giving it a 3 because I like Garrick. You know, like the other storyline is so dissatisfying, but even Garrick's storyline is dissatisfying because it kind of goes nowhere, and like the Duras sisters storyline goes nowhere. It's just like set dressing to get where you need to go with Tanalos. Mm-hmm. So the stuff in this episode that I like in the B plot is not even really addressed as being important as part of the plot.
Right.
So yeah, I'm sticking with 3. Sticking with 3. Yeah. Okay, what does chat say?
I give Star Trek higher ratings in general.
We got a solid 5.
Solid 5
in the chat. Boom. Let's go with that. Which is right in between us, so that makes sense. Okay, favorite character in this episode.
Garrick.
Let me make the poll first so people can vote while we're talking. So you say Garrick?
I don't know if that's my favorite, but it's in there. I'm waiting to trying to think of who else. Nope, nobody else is in this episode.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, who else wants to nominate someone for favorite character? I think I have to go to Garrick too.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone else because this episode is kind of thin. Does anyone else have nominations? If not, we're just going with Garrick for chat as well.
Amanda gave it a 5 because Bashir is stupid, the Klingon sisters were wasted, and Kira was a pussy.
Kira was a... She says pansy.
Oh, pansy.
Those are similar words. Alright, we're going with
Garrick.
I was
a little shocked that she would call Kira a pussy, to be honest. So I'm glad that I was using my old man eyes to read it. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go Garrick. Garrick is the only option in the poll.
Yeah, Garrick is the only option.
And I'm going to do the same thing for best performance.
For best performance, you want Garrick also?
Yeah. Nobody gets a vote. It's just Garrick. That's the correct answer. We have to figure out what that actor's name is, though, because everyone else gets their character.
Oh, Andrew Robinson.
Oh! Good job.
He actually wrote an expanded universe novel about Garrick.
Nice.
Does anyone want to nominate anyone for best performance? I feel like this is silly, but Julian's performance is really good in this episode because he has like shit to work with, you know? He has to like be dumb, and he does a really good job of it. Like he has to be this wide-eyed, bushy-tailed kid who's like excited to be in this spy novel.
Yeah.
And I kind of
it's so hard. It's like the character is so unappealing here. It's hard to get past like
right.
Oh, well, the actor did a good job of making them unappealing.
Yeah, but I really like his performance.
Yeah, okay.
And I remember being a kid, he was my favorite character. Now, definitely not, because now I'm looking at the character more than the performance. Mm-hmm. But the performance, I think, is great. So we need you guys to vote between Garrick and Bashir for best performance for this episode.
Also, Amanda said Odo is pretty solid in his advising with Kira, and I don't know if that's meant to be a pun.
Yeah, because it's a shapeshifter. Yeah, that's true, actually. Should we put Odo in there for... Well, it can't be... Or Amanda, if you want to vote for Odo for best character, favorite character, then we'll put him in there.
It's Garrick.
It's Garrick?
He's fine, Odo's
nah,
fine.
She says nah.
Thank you, Amanda.
All right. Favorite character,
Garrick.
It's Garrick,
Yeah.
obviously. Chat says Garrick.
All across the board.
Best performance, I said... what is his name? Well, he goes by Alexander Siddig, but he was Siddig El Fadil and then Alexander Siddig. I'll just write Alexander.
Yeah, go by what he calls himself now.
Yeah, I don't know what he does now. I think he went back, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll have to check that. And then chat said Garrick, right? Yeah.
We're
best
we're
performance.
telling the chat they said Garrick, even if they didn't.
Yeah, totally.
And then I give this episode 0 mushrooms.
0 mushrooms. There's no space magic.
There's not even like technobabble level stuff. Well, there is a little bit with like the bomb, but it's all just like it's a space bomb. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
How does it work? You put the one thing with the second thing, and then it blows up.
Yeah.
Why? Because that's the way the world works. It's dangerous.
Yeah, that makes enough sense for me.
Yeah, it makes as much sense as it needs to.
Totally. Yeah, I didn't have an issue with that at all.
The only thing that may stand out is where they have to relay the information to the audience, so they make Bashir go, "What's that? I've never heard of it before." And someone's like, "Oh, you put it with this and it makes a big explosion." He goes, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, and he's like a very knowledgeable doctor. I didn't quite buy that he didn't know what bellitrium was.
Because it's just something they make up for this. They don't even come back to it.
It's like, if you happen to have an antimatter converter, which is exactly what he stole from the Cardassians. Yeah, I don't know. It's very aggressively mediocre as far as Deep Space Nine goes.
Yes, yeah. And it's not, to me, it's not the worst of Deep Space Nine by far.
No, not by a long shot.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just like too many plot stretching moments to kind of get where they wanted to go.
Right. This to me is where we get to the point where I'd say it's obvious to me that Discovery's first 13 episodes are better. Because this one is like, oh, right, okay, they're just going to have some of these... Even though I'm giving it a 6, I'm just saying, like, to me, that's dipping down into Star Trek quality.
Yeah.
I mean, you gave it a 3, so...
I gave it a 3. Just because, you know what? Had to be done.
It's like Star Trek gets 5 points for being Star Trek for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I subtracted some points on this one. Well, I think that's it for those episodes.
Yeah.
You guys have any questions? We can just hang and chat for a little bit. We got a little bit of time if anyone has shit
need
they
any
want to talk
advice in their
about.
life?
Yeah. You guys need to watch The Expanse. It is so good.
Anybody have advice for our lives?
Yeah, totally. Any questions? This is the time. If you want to talk about Mario now, you can do that also.
It's like the ban on Mario talk has been lifted.
It's so funny. People always want to ask Mario questions when I do sci-fi streams.
Well, because you're the Mario wizard.
Mario dude. I just got, this is my new HD Super Nintendo.
Oh.
It's a brand new device made by this guy who like reverse engineered the Super Nintendo to make an HD version.
Oh, wow.
And then this cartridge is, it's called the SD to SNES. And you can put, it's so pretty. You can put a
so that's a cartridge player. You put memory things in that.
Yeah.
You only need one of these, and then you get different one of these.
Yeah, so all my games are on here now.
multiple games on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
And then so now I can play like ROM hacks, like
Yeah.
hacked open versions of Mario World.
What is that called? HD Super NES?
It's called a Super NT, made
NT.
by Analog. Advice for Jesse: try more tabletop games. Yeah, I've only played one tabletop game. It was the Star Wars role-playing game.
Right.
What's it called? I think it's called the Star Wars role-playing game. Yeah, you were there. We
Yeah.
did that as a podcast.
Yeah, that barely counts as playing
Yeah, totally.
role-playing games.
Ryan was our DM, and he'd never done it before, and he seemed very stressed out.
That was tough. That was,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I had a really good time. Yeah, what do you do? Well, you do that. We talked about this before.
Yeah, I had been in a game with Ryan and another friend of ours, Parker, and then Ryan moved to LA and Parker moved to Texas, and now we're waiting to see if it's going to come back. We'll play online, I guess. That's a thing people can do these days, is play video games, play role-playing games online. And I want to start a D&D campaign sometime, but I just need to find the right group and time. So far, I've just been writing notes on the world and adventure, and I'm like,
dude,
oof.
I'd be so down.
Yeah, I'll let you know when I get to that point.
I need more experience.
Gaming.
Not to invite myself to your own game. Feel free to not invite me.
You're not invited.
I'm just letting you know that I'm interested in case, you know. What is the theme on Ride Jesse?
What is the
First of all, we have to decipher what that means.
what is the theme on Ride Jesse?
What is Ride Jesse? Is it like a theme park attraction? Like the Jurassic Park water slide?
Well, it's going to be Star Trek themed.
Yeah. If I were a theme park ride, I would be a roller coaster through the cosmos.
Right.
With a bunch of like like, you know, in what's it called?
Skin tight silver suits.
Yeah, obviously. What's in The Little Prince, you know how there's like a small planets?
Yeah.
Or like Super Mario Galaxy? And it would just be like planets with people in like crazy spacesuits dancing to fun space disco music that you would like zoom past on a roller coaster through the cosmos.
You're grooving down the cosmos.
Yeah. That's exactly what a Ride Jesse would be. Hey, gamer guy.
Streaks of neon.
Atari games. I've never played any. I've never touched an Atari. I've never played Atari.
That's my first game console.
Really?
2600. Cause I'm hella old.
What games did you have?
I don't remember. It's been so long. Whatever
Yeah.
was on the old 2600.
Pong.
Yeah. Adventure, the D&D game.
Yeah.
They made a big deal about in Ready Player One.
Katamari is your ride. Katamari is that game where you like roll around and collect shit, right?
Yeah.
That looks fun. I haven't played that.
I played it on. So I never had a PlayStation, but I played it on someone else's, and it's very soothing.
Yeah, it looks fun. It's coming to the Switch. I was thinking about checking it out.
I'm gonna have to buy a Switch.
Yeah, the Switch is great.
Pathfinder is fun. My friend of mine does a Pathfinder game. I haven't played it.
Now that there's the Nintendo Switch Online, they released 20 NES games, original Nintendo games. You have to pay $20 a year, but then you get 20 games, and then they're adding more games all the time.
Nice.
They added like a new version of the original Legend of Zelda with like a bunch of cheats built into it.
Because
like you
the
have
game
a
is
bunch
hard
of
as
shit.
shit.
Yeah, like an easy game. Like they call it like living in luxury or something like that.
Right.
It's so crazy. That's such a cool idea. I love that they're doing that. It's a port, Amanda, of Katamari. Yeah. Anything else? Dude, what are you watching on TV right now?
Succession. That was the one that I'm trying to wrap up. We've been watching the Ozarks. Just finished season 2 of the Ozarks, which I really do like. What the fuck was I just watching? Oh, I went through the Chronicles of Shannara for the third time.
Oh yeah.
Which is great. I so wish there was a season 3 for that show.
And that was canceled, right?
I think so. It was like literally one of, or the most popular scripted show MTV had, and then they were like, we're going in another direction.
Weird. I hate when they do that.
I know.
And Carnival.
Like, you gave up on doing like music videos a long time ago. Just make me good teen drama fantasy shows.
Yeah, totally. I've been watching the ones I already talked about, The Expanse and The First. But then I also, there's this new web series from Tenacious D called Apocalypto, and it's called Post-Apocalypto, and it's like a hand-drawn shitty cartoon that they just like draw like one image for every like 15 seconds.
Sure.
And it's actually drawn by Tenacious D. And they write songs for each little episode.
All right.
And it's not good, but I'm really enjoying it. It's like, I just love Tenacious D.
Yeah.
It's not like it's good, but it's great. You know? And the song is so good. Apocalypto. It's so good. I really like it.
What else?
Best casting for Al-Anon. Is that a character from Shannara Chronicles?
Oh, yeah.
Qbert or Pac-Man, what is better? I have never played Qbert.
Oh, yeah. They're both pretty fun.
Yeah, Pac-Man's a great game that is too stressful to play.
I played Qbert even though I was probably just as good at both, which is to get to the third screen and then die.
Pac-Man, it's like, eventually it's going to get so stressful that you're going to die. And it's like Tetris in that way, you know? It's very stressful propositions. Like with Mario, it's going to be very stressful, but eventually you'll win, you know? I like games where you win. I do like Pac-Man, though. My friend Ryan is like a Pac-Man beast. He has crazy strategies that I've never seen before, and he's like unbeatable. He's
all
really
those games. Space Invaders, Centipede. I get about 3 levels in, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
Time Pilot was the only arcade game that I could do real well at.
Time Pilot. I don't remember that.
So you started off with like a World War II plane, you shoot other World War II planes, and then you're like, oh, now I've got this thing, now I've got a jet, now I've got a spaceship, you know?
Oh, cool. But yeah, are you talking about Snake? Whatever you said? What did you call it?
Snake.
The thing where you're like a little dude that's not very long, and you're going around and you get longer, and then you have to eat things.
Yeah, I hated that game. Ugh.
Yeah.
That was stressful.
What other game did you say?
Time Pilot.
And
Qbert. Space Invaders.
There was another one. Serpent or something?
I didn't say it.
No.
Was it on chat?
Maybe
Did you hear something in your... Oh.
I don't know. I'm going to go back and watch this later and figure out what I thought I heard from you saying.
I wish I could think of one right now to let your brain off the hook.
Yeah, that's okay. My brain's done for. Cool. Well, this was awesome. I love doing this, dude. This is so much fun.
Me too.
Thank you, guys. Check out, if you want to see those memes, check out the Instagram that we just started today. Very exciting.
Yeah.
And then we're back in 2 weeks. We haven't scheduled the next one yet.
But we're going to try to do it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're going to try to do it in 2 weeks. Yeah, awesome. I'll let you guys know for sure when we have all that scheduled and everything. Cool. Thank you guys so much. This has been Doug Space 9, Episode 2. Talking about episodes of Deep Space Nine. Maybe 3 and 4, maybe 2 and 3, maybe 3 and 2, maybe 4 and... Just depending on what you talk about. Yeah.
I'm not even hitting a door plate. I think it's the, like, this is the USS Enterprise label.
What do you think? What do you think is on this screen right here?
Those are just blinking lights. They're just like the gumdrop lights.
I think it's... Yeah, I think someone's playing a video game. I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Bye. Bye, Amanda. Thank you so much for chatting. See you, Marco. See you, Gamer Guy. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.